So today I'm going to share with you a checklist of sales. If you follow this guideline, if you follow this checklist and you implement this, you will get a lot of sales. You will make followers, you will build a tribe of people who are going to follow you and buy from you. This information, I promise you, is something that you probably already know, but you don't know how to put it as a system and use it to your advantage. This is also something you would never find as a system in any school or college because nobody ever talks about it. And like I said, most of us, we already know it at some level. We also use it at sometimes. I also promise you that if you look at some of your past interactions or business deals, chances are if you had a very great interaction with someone, maybe a great date or maybe a great sales, chances are you use these, use this checklist. You were just not aware of it. So today, what we are going to do is, I'm going to go over this checklist and make you consciously aware of it. And from now on, every time you create an offer, every time you interact with someone, every time you want to sell yourself or you want to sell a product, you're going to use this checklist, and I guarantee you, you're going to get amazing results. So with that, let's get started. So the very first thing is customer avatar. If you want to be successful at selling yourself, if you want to be successful at selling your products, you need to master customer avatar. You need to know who you're dealing with. You need to know who they are. You need to know as much information about them as you can. It's almost like you should be living and breathing them, because the more you understand them, the more you understand their desires, the more you can speak their language, and the more you can do these two things, the more they're gonna like you, the more they're gonna see you as the person they should interact with. So when I am usually creating a new product or a new business, I write everything in detail. I always ask myself, who's my customer? What is their age? How do they look like? What kind of clothes they wear? What kind of car they drive? What do their apartment look like? Are they messy? Are they clean? Like, I go into so much detail. Like, I want to know every single thing about them. Are they losing hair? What is it? What's their body type? Because the more I know, the more accurate marketing content I can create. Because if I know exactly who this person is, then every image I use on my website, every word, every headline, anything I use will be something that relates to them, will be something they understand. Think about this. If I were selling something right now to someone who's from the 70s, right? Somebody like who's really older person, and I use hip hop song, they're probably not going to like it because that's not their generation. They want more Beatles. They want something from their generation because that is what they relate to. Versus if I were to use something from the 70s and try to sell today, it's not going to work for the younger generation because they're going to see that as something that's backward. So this is very, very important concept, because if you understand your customer, if you have the accurate avatar for them, it's really going to help you. And as we go through the checklist, you're going to see how this avatar is going to come into play over and over, and is going to make your marketing very targeted. And when you have the targeted marketing, when you know exactly what to say to the person you're interacting with, you're always going to get sales. And if you don't do that, you're going to be in trouble. I'm going to give you an honest, true story. It's a very embarrassing story, but the story will make sense to you. It will clarify why it is so important. And it will also tell you that even if you're an experienced marketer, you can make this mistake very easily. So a couple of years back, I got an award. This award was called Donkey of the Year. Yes, I got the Donkey of the Year award. See, what happens is, we have a few friends with whom we do business regularly, and we share our ideas and we share our products, and we just discuss the whole business with each other all the time. We learn from each other. And a few years back, I had launched a new product for women's market. So before, I used to be a dating coach for men, and I thought I should create a product for women's market as well. And this product was basically showing women that how men see them. It was basically helping them understand how men see women, and how why we do certain things to them, why we interact with them in a certain manner, and what they can do to influence how we feel about them, or how we behave around them, or how to make us like them. And if you understand, and the dating market for women is something that women who are usually 27 plus, usually it's 30 plus, but 27 plus is the one who actually buy these kind of products. Now, when I created this product, I was showing images of a lot of women in there to say, when I look at this woman, I think of this. When I look at this woman, I think of this. And what I did is that most images I used there were images of women who were under 25. So now what happened is women who were over the age of 30, they saw that and they instantly felt, this is not me, I can never be this. Now it didn't matter because they didn't have to look like the person in the image. They had to understand the concept, and that concept applied to every age. No matter how old that woman was, she could use that concept to her advantage. But because they saw someone's very young, they instantly had this objection to say, this is not me, this is not going to work for me, and then they instantly rejected that book. And women who were younger, who were in that age range, they loved it. They sent me a lot of emails saying this is such a great book and I'm benefiting so much from it. So you see, even though I knew my avatar, just because I didn't pay attention to it when I was executing it, I got cocky. I actually made a big mistake, which kind of bit me in the ass. Now, I'm not complaining because I still made over 200 grand on that, so I was very happy, but still, I could have made way more money. So what I'm saying is, if you know your avatar, everything you will say, everything you will do, everything you will create will relate to them, and they can relate to it. And when that happens, your sales goes through the roof. Number 2, proof. You can never, ever, ever have enough proof. If you think you have a lot of proof, add at least 10 times more proof, because I tell you, proof is what gets all the sales. Proof is what drives business. Anything you do should always have proof. In my business, if you go to my website, any business, it will always have a lot of success stories in the homepage. It will have a whole success story page. If I send an email, it will always be about success story. If you go on my sales page, it will have more success stories. Because here's the thing, when people see proof that what you say is actually working and people like them are benefiting, here comes the avatar, people like them, not other people. So if I create a product and say millionaires are making more millions, the person who's not a millionaire is not going to relate to that. And if my market is someone who's not a millionaire, I'm going to instantly alienate them, instantly lose them. So that's why the proof has to be people like you, people like the customers I want are getting results from this. People like you are using it. And you can sometimes also say, you can sometimes use to your advantage, depending on the part to say people who are superior are also using it, right? So I don't know, if I have an accounting product, right? If I have an accounting software, and if Bill Gates is using it, if it's good for Bill Gates, it's definitely good for you. If I have a clothing line and some Hollywood celebrity is wearing that, if it's good for her, it's definitely good for you. But the whole idea is proof, and proof from people, mostly from people like you, especially if you're selling something, that applies exactly to that avatar. So if someone wants to learn internet marketing, if I say, you're a guru who makes $10 million, you can make another $1 million, well, everybody who's starting is out. But if I want to focus on people who are just starting, then I cannot bring the example of someone who's already an established marketer. Then I have to bring the example of someone who's just starting out. So put as much proof as you can, as many stories as you can. Video proof works really good. So if you have a page, here's something I'm going to tell you. You're writing a sales page. You don't know what to write. And if you can just put 20, 30, 40 success stories in there, you're good to go. Now, if you're someone new and you have no success stories, there are things you can do around it. First, if you have your own success stories, you can publish your own success stories. If you go on go5x.com, that's what I'm doing there. I'm actually showing people screenshots of the money I make, because there is no better proof than to show that if I'm teaching you how to make money, I actually have made money. Look, I have checks of 40,000, 50,000 coming to me. That's why I'm telling you how I can show you how to make money. That's good proof. If you don't even have that, then you can look at someone, then you can prepare a case study. You can write, you can look at someone, you can study somebody else who has done that before you and create a case study and say, look, Apple started here and they did that. As a result, they got this result. It could be more someone, my neighbor did this and then this happened and I told them to do this and as a result this happened. So then you can create some case studies around that. And like I said, this proof shouldn't go just on your website or on your sales page. It should be everywhere. Every communication they have with you, it should be there. If you send them an email, it should be there. You send them a text message, it should be there. If you're on the sales call, it should be there. One of the way I convert a lot of people on my sales calls, when I start talking to them, first, I want to understand where they are, what their situation is. When they tell me what their situation is, then I tell them a success story around there. So if somebody says, I'm at this in this stage, this is what's happening to me, I'm saying, oh, I understand because I had a client who was having this and this and this. I did XYZ for them, and guess what? This is where they are now. And that success story makes them feel, if someone in my situation can do this, then I can do this. And one of the questions most of your clients will always ask you is, do you think someone like me can do it? Because almost everyone believes that their situation is very unique. I'm the first person on this planet who's going through this. And if you can show them that you're not the first person, and there are other people who have gone through the same cycle, through the same journey, and they have gotten results using what I'm offering, they will follow you to the moon. They will buy your product, no doubt. Number 3, always appeal to their emotions and promise eliminating a problem they're having or giving them an unfair advantage. These are the 2 ways you can actually appeal to someone's emotion. A lot of us, we usually get caught, this even applies to me, we get caught in this whole cycle of giving facts to people. We are so focused on facts. Look, if you add 2 plus 2, it results in 4. Well, most people don't want to learn mathematics because 2 plus 2 equals to 4. They want to understand that if I add 2 plus 2, it equals to 4, that means I have twice the thing. That's what people want to understand. People want to understand the emotional benefit behind something they do and not the facts around it. And this is one thing that took me a long time to understand. And this is something, if you understand and if you can learn to communicate with people in terms of emotions, whether it's your personal relationships or whether it's business, you will be very effective at communication. You'll be very effective at charming people, connecting with them, and making them follow you. This is really a great leadership quality, and I would highly recommend you that if you don't know how to speak emotions, you should really spend some time speaking emotions. Let's take a look at some case studies here, or let's look at some facts. So let's take an example of Apple. When Apple introduced their Mac, they had these advertisements where they were talking about why Apple is better than PC, and they had all these funny ads saying, PC has virus, Apple has no virus, PC cannot do this, Mac can do this. So what they were doing was they were addressing a pain point with very memorable ads. They made some very funny ads to say, I know your pain, I know you're suffering from this, I know you cannot do this on PC, but if you come to Mac, you can do this. Verizon did the same thing. Can you hear me now? It's the same thing. Most people have dropped calls. Most people go out of range and then they lose the call. And here's Verizon, can you hear me, saying, if you're with Verizon, you will never have another dropped call. No matter where you go, you're going to have signal. That's someone addressing a pain. So when you're trying to sell something, don't just say, I have a product. Don't just focus on features. Focus on emotions. Focus on how it can eliminate the suffering, how it can make your life better. And that's what people want. It's the same thing comes to the advantage. How can you give them an unfair advantage? If you remember the advertising from Axe, right? So Axe Deo, Axe body spray, the whole advantage was like, if you spray this on you, women will chase you, they will fight over you. So now it gives you an unfair advantage. Once again, they know their avatar very well. They know that most men struggle to get women. Most men are uncomfortable around women. Most men want to be that James Bond. Most men have that fantasy that I want women to like me, I want women to chase me, but that's something they're not living. And here is the product that if you use it, it gives you an unfair advantage. Now they could have made this part saying, oh, if you spray this, it has this scent, and this scent is really good, it comes from this flower or this plant or whatever. They could have done that, but they didn't focus on that. They focus on the emotional advantage. To say, if you spray this, you're going to get an unfair advantage. If you wear my clothes, you go to a bar, you go to a club, you're going to get free entry. People are going to let you in. You're going to get special attention. What is the emotional benefit they can get from that? If you talk about security systems, right? People talk, you see the ads for home security and the alarms, the home alarms, security alarms, right? They don't talk about like, oh, if you connect this connects to your internet, this goes to this, and then if someone breaks in, there is this technology, it informs the cop. They don't talk any of that stuff. They don't go into features. They say, if you install this and somebody tries to break in, cops show up in no minute, your family is safe, your family will always be secure, you will be protected. They're addressing the advantage to say, if you go with this, you will be safe, you will be protected. Okay, so always speak in terms of emotions. Even when you speak with people, okay, I see this all the time, and especially when I used to be a dating coach, the number one problem men had is when they would talk to women, they would get into this whole interrogation business talk. And I had to teach them that when you talk to people, you have to speak emotions. Don't talk logic, don't talk features, talk emotions. And if you can talk emotions, you can engage people really well. Think about little kids. If you have a 5-year or a 7-year-old nephew and you were to talk to them, you wouldn't talk to them in terms of features or logic. You will talk to them in terms of emotions. You will talk to them in storytelling. That's really what marketing is. If you can engage people with emotions, with storytelling, you're going to have people who are going to follow you. And the more they follow you, the more they hear your voice, the more they're listening to you, the more they're going to buy from you. Number 4, always justify the cost. There was an ad that a doctor used to run in the 70s, and there is no better example than that to address the cost. And he used to run an ad where he used to say, give me your money and give me your piles, or keep your money and keep your piles. This was a doctor who was curing piles, and he understood his avatar very well. He understood that there are people who are suffering from piles, from the pain of piles, and they would do anything to get rid of it. So he said, I know you're suffering. You want to get rid of that suffering? Then give me your money and I will cure it for you. Or if you don't want to give me your money, then continue to suffer. And now this instantly tells the person that if you want this benefit, if you want to get rid of your pain, then give me your money. Your money, is it worth that pain? And that's really something you always have to do. See, if you're selling someone below, if you're selling a product or an offer under $50, most of the time it's not important because people don't care. Even up to $100, people don't care. Or especially if you're in the Western countries, nobody cares if somebody loses $100. But if you're going to sell someone $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 product or an offer, or if there's something that has a long-term commitment, you absolutely have to justify why they should spend this kind of money, and you have to absolutely make sure that they understand that they're going to get way more back in return than what they're spending. Because when it comes to big money, that's where people always become logical. That's where logic supersedes emotion, and people ask, do I really need to do this? So in your marketing, in your sales, you have to figure out, you have to reposition your offer on how you can do that. So in my first business, when I used to be a dating coach, I think I've talked about this story before. I started with $600 and gradually raised the same product price to $200,000. It was all about repositioning and creating different offers around the same concept. With the same product, just added a few more features, removed a few more features, and positioned them differently. So for example, I had a coaching program where I was charging people $25,000 and I would train them how to start their own dating business. So here, the justification was that if you give me $25,000, you will be able to start your own business and you will be able to recover the cost you're paying me right now. So now that justifies their expense because they know this money is going to come back to them. And then I had long-term coaching programs. These were for men who wanted to improve, who wanted to learn more, who wanted to be with me. This is again where the avatar comes in. There are two kinds of customers. There are customers who just wants to buy your products and consume it. And there are customers who want to work with you in the long run. So those expensive products, those expensive offers are created for your avatar who wants to be with you, who wants specialized service, who wants the benefit of being with you. And if you want to have that kind of market, well, guess what you have to do? You have to first make sure that people who are not paying you that money don't have access to you, because if they have access to you, then it's very unfair to the person who's going to pay you $100,000, $200,000. And so that's why from the beginning, you plan your marketing that way. You plan your marketing to say, if you take these offers, my team will help you. If you take this offer, you get direct access to me. And once again, if you know your market, if you know your customers, you know what they want, then you can create a specific offer that works for them. So for example, now I know that people who want to spend time with me, people who pay me $100,000 to $200,000, they do that because they're someone who believe in long-term progress, they're someone who have enough money, and they really value spending time with me. I give an example. I had a client on the East Coast, and when my first year contract ended with him for $200,000, I said, okay, you've learned everything, let's say goodbye and move on. And he said, no, I want to continue with you. And he continued with me for many years. And the reason he continued with me is because he really enjoyed spending time with me. He said that he likes that he can bounce business ideas with me, that he knows that everything he shares with me is safe, he knows that I'm intelligent, that he trusts me, he trusts my business instincts. So now, when I pitch the same program to somebody else, I basically use that sales pitch to say, look, if you pay me this much money, the good thing is you will have access to me. Anytime you need to discuss something, you have a business idea, you have access to me, you know it's safe. So everything I knew that worked for this particular client, this avatar, when I met somebody else from that avatar, I was able to give them the same spiel, and that worked, and that got me sales. But the thing is, you have to understand, this is why we started with the avatar. You have to understand the frame, the mental frame of your customer. You have to know who they are, why they will pay you this kind of money, and why paying this much money is justified for them. And if you can understand why spending that money is justified for them, you'll always be able to convince them. You won't even have to convince them, they will automatically ask you. Just like I gave you the example of my East Coast guy. I told him that our program is over, but he was the one who said, let's continue. And that's what you have to do. And there are many other ways you can do this. This is an example because I understand not everybody is selling $200, $300, $1,000 programs. But there are many simpler ways to justify the cost. Some of the things that work is you show that you're giving them a special discount. So if you're selling a product for $90, you say, usually I sell this for $500, but today I'm going to give you 80% off, and you only get to pay $100 for that. So people feel like a winner because they feel they're getting special discount. If you look at all the factory outlets, they're busy. Especially I live in Miami, and if I go to these factory outlets, they're crazy busy. Only because they have these markdown prices, 50% off, 80% off, 90% off. And believe me, I don't think anybody's getting any discount. I just feel this is the marketing. In Chicago, I used to love, there was a store which was there for almost 10 years, and they have this going out of business sign for over 10 years. And I always laugh at it to say, how much inventory do you have that you haven't gone out of business in 10 years? But they know. That's what brings people in, right? So use that to your advantage. Tell people that you're giving them a special deal, that they're gonna pay very less today, and that motivates them. And no matter how much they know, they still feel like, okay, I'm getting a special deal here, okay? And something else you can do is you can add extra value by giving extra bonuses. And every bonus you offer there, you make sure you add value to it. Everything should be like, don't just say, I'm gonna give you 3 books. I'm say, this first book is for $5,000. This second book is for $4,000. Depending on the product, not everything will be $5,000. The thing is, they need to know that they're gonna get back more than what they're spending. If somebody's spending $100 and they get $100 value back from you, people are usually not happy with that. That doesn't excite them. But if somebody's going to pay you $100 and in return they're gonna get $400 worth of stuff back from you, that excites them. So make sure that when you create an offer, you always justify the cost. You always make them feel that they're going to come out a winner if they take this deal. And if they feel that way, they won't hold back and they will spend money right away. Number 5, use stories. Use as many stories as you can in your marketing. One thing I have noticed over the years with my marketing is that my story campaigns have always converted better than anything else. And the reason is, when you take people through stories, then people participate in that stories, they become part of that story, they relate and interact with that story, and it really helps them absorb or kind of teleport them into your world. And once they're in your world, they start seeing things from your eyes, then they're ready to buy. I mean, if you look at ads, most advertisements out there are storytelling, right? If you look at ad for Claritin, for example, right? The ad usually starts with everything is foggy, it's hazy, you don't have any clarity, and there's a woman who's sniffling and she's crying, or she has tears coming out of her eyes, and then comes Claritin, she takes Claritin, all of a sudden the shot becomes clear. Now we have a clear vision, everything is properly focused, she's smiling, no more sniffling, no more tears. And that's the storytelling to say, you're suffering, comes in Claritin, you're a happy person. You couldn't see clear, comes Claritin, you're a happy person. What storytelling also does, it really helps you hook your customers. And once again, coming back to the avatar, tell them people like you are learning from me. One of the things that really helped me with my dating business when I was first starting was, I got a lot of people to come and learn from me, because every time I constantly reminded them that people like you are learning from me. So my newsletters were all about storytelling. Even now, if you go on my YouTube or anything, it's always a story about some client I worked with, what their issue was, what I did to get them results, and how they got results. So I take them through this whole story, and that brings them to me. In my book, I usually have this one story that I share a lot. Yeah, I even talk about it in the blog. It's a true story about my grandpa's dying, and when he was dying, he told me, live your life and make sure you don't regret when you're dying, because he died, feeling very regretful. And when I shared that story, I can tell you how many people relate to it, how many people connect to it, and how many people buy my products and services and coaching because they relate to it and they feel, I don't want to be in that level. So storytelling is a really great way to create a connection with people. It's a really great way to share values. It's a really great way to indoctrinate someone into your way of thinking. And if you can use this storytelling effectively and build a tribe of people who start to think like you, who see who you are, where you are, what kind of results you're getting to people, what kind of people are involved, you're going to get shitload of sales. One other thing that I will tell you how I use in storytelling. In storytelling, I often break the customer avatar again. When I go into storytelling, I just don't go into storytelling. I really break the customer avatar. Say, last week I was working with this person. This person was a doctor, he was a good-looking guy or a not good-looking guy or a big guy or a small guy, whatever it is. I'll go into the whole detail. I will, of course, never reveal anybody's identity, but I will break the avatar to the teeth. And when I do that, people who are listening to it, they instantly start to relate to it. And then when I go through the storytelling, just because I started with a doctor, I don't want anybody else to be eliminated. I will bring other people in to say, oh, the people who were like this person was this, that person was that, they also had a similar situation. So now by the time I go through the storytelling, a lot of people can join that story. A lot of people can relate to that character. And when they can relate to that character, they feel, this solution is designed just for me. And when they feel that this solution is designed just for me, this journey is just for me, your sale has already happened. Now all you have to do is give them an offer where they can say, okay, this is what I'm going through, and this is going to solve me. It makes sense. I should take this. And this is really, really going to scale your sales up. It's going to scale your business up. So use as much storytelling as you can. And I'm going to throw one bonus point. I'm not going to go too much into this, but I'm going to tell you, you should always have some kind of urgency involved around your marketing campaigns. And because when there's urgency, people act on it. Most of us are lazy by nature. It's not that we don't want to improve our life, but we're lazy. We always feel like, I'll do this tomorrow. I have this thing going on right now. Once this is over, I'll go to that thing. And then when that thing ends, they have something else, and people just get lost, they get distracted. And so it's very important that you put a deadline for people to act, and you make sure that you stick to it. If you tell someone this offer ends tomorrow, you make sure that offer ends tomorrow. And after that, no matter what they come to you and say, my grandma died, my cat ran away, my dog bit me, doesn't matter what excuse they come up with, you just don't budge. And the reason you don't do that is because if you start making exceptions, then you're not training them, they're training you. People need to know that if you're going to create an offer, if there is a deadline, there is an urgency, things end at that point, and they better act now or they're going to lose this offer. And once this thing goes out, every time you will release an offer, people will act on it right away. So I know this video became really, really long, but I hope this gives you really good ideas that you can now start executing in your marketing campaigns, in your sales campaigns, and also in your personal relationships. And if you start executing this checklist that I gave you, the 5-step plus a bonus, the total 6 steps, if you execute this 6-step checklist, I guarantee you, your sales are gonna change, your sales are gonna shoot through the roof, and you're gonna become rich very soon. So hope this helps. Talk to you soon.